It's Friday, October 25th, right now on 12 News at 10.
I'm Bianca Bono in the newsroom. A cold case arrest 26 years in the making. Tonight, we hear from 3 of the victims' children.
It's a problem that started during the pandemic. Drivers taking over intersections, doing donuts, burnouts, and driving more than 100 miles per hour. But now Valley Police Departments say they're starting to get the upper hand.
We are looking at our last triple-digit temperatures for 2024 before temps fall and feel more fall-like next week.
A woman and her 2 dogs evicted from their apartment. She feared she would end up on the streets. You'll see what happened after she reached out to 12 News.
12 News at 10 with Mark Curtis and Caribe Divine starts now.
We are following some breaking news in the East Valley. A crash shutting down the westbound lanes of the US 60 at Power Road in Mesa. DPS says that a vehicle crashed and then flipped over, trapping a woman and 3 children inside. First responders were able to get them out, but sadly, a 5-year-old boy died from his injuries. DPS says that the investigation is ongoing and that impairment has not been ruled out. Authorities say that you can expect that stretch of road to be closed for the next several hours. Tonight, we have an update to a story that we brought you as breaking news. This afternoon, 4 kids and a woman rushed to the hospital after a bad crash in Phoenix. Just in the past half hour, we have learned that a 25-year-old woman has died from her injuries and a baby is in the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Police say that 3 other children were taken to the hospital and they are expected to be okay. Investigators say that the car that they were in collided with a pickup truck near 19th Avenue and Lower Buckeye Road. Police say that the children were not restrained in child safety seats. Tonight, we have a major breakthrough in a cold case murder of a mother of 6 children. Phoenix police arresting the man that they say killed Sarah Carr in her home 26 years ago. Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us. For 12 News at 10, Mark Curtis has the night off. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono is joining us live in studio tonight. And Bianca, you spoke with some of her family members, and how are they processing all of this?
Yeah, Caribe, Sarah Carr left behind 6 children and a big family, and they never knew if they would ever see justice. Today, they tell me they feel like a weight has been lifted off their family's shoulders, and they can finally move forward together.
Obviously, I don't have memories, I have pictures.
For Garrett Miller, these pictures are worth so much more than 1,000 words.
A lot of the pictures are my older siblings, and the way she's looking at them, you can see it's just like a true motherly love. I think she would have probably been the best mom.
It's through these pictures that he got to know his mother, Sarah Carr. When Miller was just 2 years old, Carr's life was taken. On July 9th, 1998, a suspect came into her home near 14th Street and McDowell. He shot and killed her.
Growing up, I had to kind of learn it on my own because it wasn't really talked about.
Phoenix police detectives only had a nickname for the suspect, and the case would go cold.
It had a pretty big impact.
Facing obstacles throughout his life, growing up without Carr. But ultimately, Miller was called to service, becoming an Austin police officer, giving him a new and unique perspective on his own mother's case.
There's a lot going on that you can't see behind the scenes. But at the same time, I'm also that person, and I was that person, reaching out to the detective saying, hey, do we have an update?
In 2016, a development. Phoenix police and federal officials identified the suspect, Javier Lorenzano Nunez. But he was in Mexico and his specific whereabouts were unknown. The waiting would continue until this summer when Miller texted the lead detective on the anniversary of his mom's death.
I thanked him. I told him I believe my mom would have made it out the other side. And he's like, hey, can you keep a secret?
They found Lorenzano Nunez. And just this week, Miller was there when he was extradited and brought into Phoenix PD's custody.
They asked me for a pair of my handcuffs, and I don't think they realized I had a special pair that I'd been saving for the occasion.
The now 58-year-old suspect accused of killing Miller's mother, detained with his engraved handcuffs that he'd been holding on to since he was sworn in as an officer.
I had wrote my mom's name on them in Sharpie too.
Miller sharing the news 26 years in the making with his 5 siblings. Jessica was 11 months old when her mom was killed.
I've always had faith. I've prayed about it, all throughout my life. But I really never thought we would see the day.
Their brother Alex was adopted and found out about what happened to his mom just last year.
The person who took her away from, all of her kids, not just myself, and prevented us from maybe, starting this new relationship in life won't be out there anymore.
As Miller stands at his mother's gravesite alongside his aunt, a weight has been lifted off his family's shoulders.
Finally, we did it, and we did it for my mom.
A 26-year-long chapter finally closed, and his family is ready for the next.
I think what's next for us is we all get together and truly have a celebration of our mom's life.
And making this even more emotional, both Sarah Carr's mother and father have been waiting for justice for their daughter every day. Carr's family members tell me they were not sure if they would ever see an arrest, but are so thankful that they did. We're live in studio tonight. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Yeah, it's incredible, Bianca. A bittersweet moment for them. Thank you so much. Well, tomorrow could be the very last time that we see 100 degrees in Phoenix. Although I feel like you've been saying this a lot, Lindsay. It hasn't actually happened yet, but you say that this time it's real, and then we have a big cool down coming after that.
We do. This is going to be the second latest triple-digit day that we've ever had in Phoenix. Tomorrow, it will be a record-setting day. Then on Sunday, it's still warm, but we'll top out in the upper 90s. And then the more fall-like temperatures move in next week. So tomorrow we will beat the old 2001 record of 98 by 2 degrees, and we'll be 14 degrees above the average. But here's where we're headed. By Sunday, 97 down to 90 on a breezy Monday. And then Tuesday through Friday, daily highs next week are going to be in the 70s and 80s, morning lows in the 50s. The high country also feeling the chill, going from the 70s this weekend down into the 40s and 50s by the middle of next week. Caribe.
All right, Lindsay, thank you. New tonight, Valley police departments are gaining the upper hand when it comes to stopping illegal intersection takeovers. This is what we're talking about. You've probably seen it. Street racers crowding around an intersection to do donuts, burnouts, and even drag racing. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with Tempe and Phoenix police about what they've done to pump the brakes on these incidents.
One of those takeovers actually happened at this intersection of Gilbert and Baseline Roads last summer, where someone was hit by a car. But now Tempe police tell me they haven't had a single one of these incidents in months.
It's extremely dangerous.
This used to happen every weekend across the valley.
There's hundreds of cars fleeing at every different direction.
Sergeant Matt Barker with the Tempe Police Department says intersection takeovers took over the valley during the pandemic.
I've seen so many people getting hit by cars that are involved in these takeovers.
Including this situation near Gilbert and Baseline last year, when one person standing in the intersection as cars were doing donuts was hit. Tempe, along with DPS and other agencies, chased after the driver and deployed their grappler device, locking onto its wheel and stopped the car. Arresting the driver, who was just 17 years old. But Barker says these incidents have gone down significantly in Tempe. In fact, since March of this year, they haven't had a single one.
Multiple arrests for towing multiple vehicles a night when these were happening. And I think ultimately people were just getting sick of their cars getting towed.
For Phoenix,
we're seeing far fewer takeovers.
Sergeant Ladd Bangerter with Phoenix PD's Street Racing Task Force says their numbers are also down.
The key for us is persistence, and to have that persistence, you have to have a squad that's working this on a permanent basis.
It takes a lot of dedicated officers and cooperation between departments.
We do have to respond in quite large numbers to be able to handle the crowds that we're dealing with.
It's also to send a message to these drivers that this won't be tolerated in the valley. Now, both departments tell me an issue with these takeovers is that once these drivers know that law enforcement is after them, they'll move from city to city. Barker telling me from what he's seen, a lot of them are now happening in Tucson. We're in Gilbert tonight. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
All right, Chase, thank you. Today, President Joe Biden was on the Gila River Indian community where he made a historic speech apologizing for the federal government's role in the Indian boarding school program.
After 150 years, the United States government eventually stopped the program. But the federal government has never formally apologized for what happened until today. I formally apologize.
Between 1819 and 1969, at least 18,000 Native children were taken from their families and forced to attend schools to assimilate them. According to an Interior Department investigation, at least 973 children died in the government's abusive boarding school system. Today, President Biden called it a horrific chapter in U.S. history. Now to Decision 2024, the campaign trail will continue to be busy in battleground state Arizona with several high-profile visits planned. Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz will hold events in Window Rock and Phoenix tomorrow. And then next week, both Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump will hold dueling events on Halloween. Harris's visit will focus on securing Arizona's Latino voters. Meanwhile, Trump will make a stop in Glendale as part of Tucker Carlson's live tour. And of course, 12 News has you covered on Election Day. Just make sure that you have the 12 Plus app already downloaded on your TV. 12 Plus is where we will stream hours of live result coverage of all the local and the state races. All you have to do is search for 12 Plus on your Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. New tonight, a 71-year-old woman and her 2 dogs were evicted from their apartment. She feared that she would end up on the streets, so she reached out to 12 News. 12 News journalist Brenda Lipinski spoke to her this afternoon.
The organization that was helping the woman were told that all of the shelters that they reached out to didn't have any space. That is, until we made a call.
71-year-old Darylyn Wright was evicted from her apartment days ago with her 2 dogs.
I don't know. I can't even describe it. I felt just completely broken down.
Falling into a situation where her Social Security income of $1,100 a month was not enough anymore.
My Social Security stopped, and it stopped for like 2 months before they got it figured out what happened, which made me get late with the rent, which caused the late fees.
After reaching out to multiple organizations, she was connected with Dogs Day Out AZ, a group that helps homeless dogs and their owners.
We were not going to allow a 71-year-old with 2 German Shepherds to sit out on the curb at 7 o'clock at night.
They funded her recent stay at a Valley hotel and called dozens of shelters in town.
Apartments wanted Darylyn to have 2 or 3 times the rent to even rent from them. A lot of our cooling centers in the Valley have closed, and we even have some shelters that have closed down too, which have limited the number of beds we have at the ones that are open.
12 News reached out to the city of Phoenix to talk about some of these issues. They say in part, the city is committed to its work in ending homelessness and recognizes that it requires comprehensive solutions such as affordable housing and prevention supports. I called a previously contacted organization, and they told me there was a spot for Darylyn. Darylyn grateful to have a space for her and her dogs.
I think I would like to see if I can help somebody else avoid this type of situation.
Brenda Lipinski, 12 News.